All right, welcome to the team stream for the Team League round of 64. With me, I've got Enlightened Owl and Tyrion, I will turn it over to in just a few moments. Just wanted to thank everybody for listening and get ready for the stream. Enlightened Owl, Tyrion, it is all yours, gentlemen.
Hey everybody, like Kinetic said, it is the round of 64 for the Duel of Champions Team League. Thank you all for viewing today. Like I said, got Kinetic presenting the tournament. Got Tyrion with me. Tyrion, say hey, my friend.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for including me here. I'm glad that I'm able to do this, even though I'm currently at a LAN party. So if there's a lot of background noise, I apologize. Just let me know, and I'll do my best to make sure that that doesn't interfere too much with the audio quality.
Yeah, and I think with that, we're good to go. I believe the first match that we're going to be viewing is a Kelthor against Kelthor mirror match. This is actually game 3 of a match in a best 2 out of 3 series. The first 2 games are actually seen on Tuesday on the team stream, and we're now going to watch the tiebreaker in which they'll be playing Kelthor against Kelthor.
Which is everyone's favorite mirror match, of course.
I don't mind this mirror match. One thing that stands out to me immediately is that, jeez, I hate these names. Shuri You Dream on the right, apparently a 1500 player. He's got Fireball in his deck, which is a card. I like that card a lot. I play a ton of those. I'm very clunky, but a lot of people do not like that card. You don't see it in a lot of builds these days. We also see War Tents on Cherry Cheery's side on the left. So it looks like there's a bit of variation between the two builds.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with having Fireballs in a Kelthor deck. I think that it's one of the best ways to help deal with some of the other competitive aggro decks, or also just other Kelthors in general. So including Fireball might have an impact here, but then again, whenever you're in a mirror match, it always just comes down to whoever draws the right cards at the right time.
How do you feel about War Tent for the Kelthor mirror match?
War Tent is just a solid card in general. I think any Stronghold deck can make pretty good use of War Tent, but Kelthor's running enough quick attack creatures that you can use it as like a quick attack launcher, and just anything in general. With Zephyria in there, you can give Swift to creatures to move them on top of War Tents. It's just pretty much a guaranteed inner fire for quite a few turns, so definitely approve of that in any Kelthor deck.
Yeah, I agree with you for the most part. Like, War Tent, one of the things that makes the card so strong is that it's never going to be bad in any matchup. Like, even against a hardcore lock deck like Sandalphon, it'll still just add 2 extra damage. It's never going to be terrible. I like the way that it's been played from the right-hand side quite a bit so far. I think he's played pretty close to perfectly. On the left, I'm not sure I love this turn as much. I think he could have played this a little bit differently. I get what he's doing, but I don't know. I think it's a pretty big setback to use the Kelthor unique ability this early. I think in this matchup in particular, it's really important to build up the resources early on. Here we're going to maybe see a Zephyra turn. I think I would pick off the Harpy for free. Probably play the Zephyra not in the way of the Brute, and then just pick off the Harpy and call it good. What do you think?
Yeah, that's definitely an option for him, but we see right there he didn't want that Brute to get any damage through, which, you know, I can understand that. Kelthor could also make use of its Enrage ability, but getting more creatures on the board is always useful. Conveniently, Cherry does not have Magic Peddler or Forbidden Flame yet, so maybe Shayuri Dream is trying to play slow just in case he's afraid of that, but apparently not after this turn, playing 2 more creatures now.
Yeah, I don't love this turn. I don't love just throwing the Harpy to die in front of the Orc. I mean, it looks like he's trying to race. Maybe he's trying to save the Zephyra to deal some free damage. Likewise, he's got Magic Peddler, so we know that he's going to be able to dig up Song of the Lost anytime. So I think the mindset from the right-hand side is simply to race his opponent. That's probably not the way that I personally would play it, but I do understand what he's doing, even if I don't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Unfortunately, he's just not in the position to really do that. And yeah, I think you're right that throwing away that Harpy was really not the best choice. But of course, with Lightning Strike, it would not have mattered anyways. But
Correct.
even still, playing any creature in front of another creature to die is just a waste of resources and the card. So, but he does have the Magic Peddler for Forbidden Flame, which will leave his Tainted Orc and his Oliphant alive. But then again, Cherry Cherry also has a Tainted Orc on the board right now, too, which would also live with 1 HP.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision. Would you keep the two guys alive in order to let your opponent have his guys still be alive, or no? I mean, he could flame, and then instead of attacking with the oil fan, he could throw it in front of the Tainted Orc, hoping to block and save the damage.
Yeah, it's a tough choice because, I mean, like you said, he is racing, but at the same time, if he eats that 4 damage from the Tainted Orc, then he's, 4 damage away from death, and with War Tents or POW and anything like that. Like, we already know Cherry Cherry has
Yeah, he's got the Shredder and the War
the
Tent.
Shredder and the War Tent. Yeah, so
Yeah,
killing
he will-
damage if it's misplayed.
Yeah, his opponent, he doesn't know that, but he will die if he makes that play. If he opts to attack with Oil Fan, Flame, and attack with Orc, even though it looks decent on paper, he will actually just die on his turn. Whoa. Moves Orc in front of Orc. Not liking that. I'm pretty sure if you're going to do this, you put the Oil Fan in front of the Orc. He's just developing the board now. It seems counterintuitive. Like, he dug up Flame, which probably means he's trying to reset the board, but then he plays a bunch more guys. Not liking where this is going to go, and we're going to see a big fireball here. It's going to take out 3 guys with no consequence at all.
Yeah, sure, you dream playing into Fireball quite badly there, but I mean, I see his idea with blocking with his own Tainted Orc. It's going to completely freeze his opponent's Tainted Orc, but the only problem is with any sort of spells coming into play, that Tainted Orc is not going to be able to stand up to it, so definitely going to end up being a poor choice in the end, but of course, hindsight, is 2020. He doesn't know that the Fireball's there, but still, losing the Oliphant, taking 2 damage in the top lane, and also losing his Tainted Orc now.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Cherry, I wouldn't overextend. I would just put War Tent in the top lane, attack for 4, and call it good. I see no reason to play any more guys. Yeah, he agrees. He's just going to get in there for 4, and he's going to force the Forbidden Flame out of his opponent that I'm strongly assuming he knows his opponent has. I mean, in theory, he could have tutored up Song of the Lost, but I mean, I think it's pretty clear whether he had it by drawing or whether he dug it up that he has Flame, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. The board gets wiped, and he's going to get in for 2, but unless he moves that to block the War Tent lane, the game's going to be over this turn. He does block it, however. That is the correct play. Good for him.
Yep. Yep. Great choice there. Great awareness to make sure that his opponent doesn't get a Blastgull Shredder out. He knows exactly what's going to be in a Kelthor deck, and he knows he can't leave that War Tent unblocked. With only 4 health on that Shredder, that does mean it's dying right away. And additionally, it could have died to a Lightning Strike or a Fireball, so maybe a little bit lucky there for Shiryu Dream to not be out of the game yet. And currently, he has interesting cards in his hand, but I don't think it's going to be enough to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see too many good plays here. I mean, I think you draw a card, probably end up fireballing the Shredder, attack with your own Shredder, and then throw it in front of the Vulture Rider. It deals 2 damage and keeps you alive, and it gives you the out of Zephyra. Maybe that way, if he kills another Deathseeker on his next turn, he can just win the game. I think that's really the only out.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're probably right, but luckily for him, Cherry Cherry doesn't currently have finishing cards in his hand right now. But we will see exactly what happens. Yeah. So you called it right there.
That was played in the wrong order, though. He should have drawn the card first, for sure.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, he would have saved that resource, and Lightning Strike would have been used instead of Fireball. You should always draw first whenever you are planning on drawing or not spending all of your resources.
Yeah, that's going to end it right there. I mean, he could have ended it a couple of different ways. As it turns out, he just flat out drew the second Firebolt, but it wouldn't have mattered because the top card, as revealed by Week of the Mercenaries, was Song of the Lost, which would have worked out the same. So either way, he was able to remove that blocker. Just had to make sure that he flipped a creature with Week of the Mercenaries, which, after drawing a card, he managed to do. And that's going to be that. Cherry's going to win this best-of-3 match by a count of 2-1. They actually started out with other decks, such as Ignatius, but it ended up on Kelthor Mirror Match, and like you said, a lot of it is who gets the right cards at the right time. In this case, it was Cherry Cherry coming out on top.
Yeah, and that match necessarily wasn't just whoever drew the right cards. I think that Cherry Cherry did play that quite well. I don't think he had any misplays there. But on the other side, I think some play could have been cleaned up a little bit. He did end up getting his Forbidden Flame, so there's a little bit of leverage he had on his side. He just didn't manage to utilize all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that either of them played perfectly, but I agree with you that he played better than his opponent, and I'm definitely a player who believes that the better player deserves to win, so I'm okay with that outcome. I believe the next match that we're watching is going to be a Cassandra against Sandalphon match. Not sure what kind of Sandalphon it is. Could be Rush, could be Lock. I'm sure we'll see that pretty quickly in the match. I was told this is a pretty high-level game, so hopefully we see something entertaining. Alrighty, game is loading up now. Let's see what we have. I personally would prefer to be a Sandalphon aggro as opposed to block. I find that more entertaining to watch. We see here Kinetic and his 1240 rating loading it up for us. And, well, those events don't really tell us anything. I see Week of Taxes, so that might be from the Sandalphon. That might indicate that it's aggro. And yep, looking at the hand, it is clearly aggro. So we have two aggressive decks against each other here, both well over 1,500, almost 1,530 for both these guys. Who do you like in this matchup?
That's an interesting question. I still like Cassandra Fortunes in almost any matchup. It's really, really hard for Cassandra to have a bad matchup. But looking at Izachiel's deck, he does have Homebound Winds, which makes me a little bit curious to wonder what other spells he's thrown in there as well. I haven't seen his deck list yet, but that's going to be an interesting card. I'm not sure exactly if it's going to be the most valuable against Cassandra creatures, but regardless, we see Bantu King has the typical Cassandra Fortune, and starting with a DA is definitely a good start.
That card stands out to me. I'm not used to seeing Dark Assassin and Cassandra Fortune at all. That card strikes me as unusual, but I mean, so does Homebound Winds. You pointed out two interesting cards there. A lot of builds for Sandalphon that I've seen have either 0 of that card or maybe 1, but we know that he's got at least 2 in his deck as they're both already in his hand. So I think this will be interesting, but other than that, the Cassandra deck seems relatively standard. He's got River of Gems, which is a card that I definitely think should be in the list. A lot of the old lists did not play that. I agree with Cosmic Realignment as well. I think it's way too valuable against a lot of the control decks. So in general, I think I like the build that Bantu King is playing. The Dark Assassin is definitely curious for me. It is being blocked right now by a Blazing Glory after an attack for 2 from the Crusader. Another thing that stands out to me is Blind Arbiters. That's probably from the Sandalphon deck, of course, as opposed to the Cassandra deck. How do you think that will impact the match?
You know, I'm not entirely sure. It's interesting to note that there's no any sort of income creatures on Bantu King's side. That's one thing that stood out to me initially, is that you have no Tithe Collectors and no Crusader Treasures, at least in hand right now. So I wonder if maybe he's foregone those altogether to try to come up with a little bit more aggressive deck with DAs thrown in there. So definitely going to change the tempo of the whole game. And already Izachiel's going to struggle to block that top lane. He doesn't have any sort of answer for it. Hasn't even leveled to 2 magic yet. I think he's probably going to have to do that and hope he draws a Geyser or something.
Yeah, he might have to throw... I guess that's one way to do it. I was going to say he might have to throw the Crusader up there, but now he's going to go for the race plan, which I don't think is too bad, because it's very relevant that every time the Dark Assassin gets in there, he's going to do 1 to his own controller. So I don't think it's inconceivable that a pretty fast, bursty, aggressive deck like Sandalphon could go for the race plan. He's also going to get to... he's going to move it there as opposed to attack. That is very interesting. I thought for sure he was going to get in there for 3. But I guess he's just trying to race in a way where he can control the game, maintain a good balance between attacking and defending. And I like that a lot. I think that adds adds a lot of room for mistakes. I think that is basically challenging Bantu King to not screw up and really punishing him if he does screw up.
Yeah, and one thing I'll mention about that is Izachiel probably is aware that his health points are more valuable than Cassandra's health points because with Cassandra's Imperial Devotion, Bonta King's going to be able to get any number of his health back if he's recycling it, maybe up to even, a full 20 HP if he plays it throughout the entire game.
Interestingly, I'm told by our behind-the-scenes 1240 man, Kinetic, that Bontu King is actually running 4 copies of Tithe Collector and Crusader Treasurer, and that for whatever reason, he just hasn't managed to draw either of those yet. Now, granted, he's got Cosmic Realignment in hand. He very well may dig for those cards, maybe even as soon as this turn. But he does have those in his deck and just has not managed to get a hold of them yet. Right now, he's going to dig for something with Soothsayer. He's got all 3 of his options, and he's going to opt for probably Devotion. Yeah, goes for Devotion here. Don't know if he's going to use it this turn or not. Seems kind of early. I mean, he's only going to gain 4. He could have gained 7, but he was at 16, so he only really gained 4. I guess he really wants to realignment this turn, so he's just going to have a big turn where he plays a bunch of stuff, which is fine. He's definitely ahead on board. But that's not to say that Sandal couldn't recover.
Yep. And one of the strengths of the Sandal aggro deck is that it can do a full board clear, especially with all these flyers in play for Bonta King. If he doesn't fill up every single slot and prevent them from dying, then in any given turn, Sandy could play, as soon as she's up to 4, he is up to 4 magic, of course. Not that he has either part of the Wombo combo right now, but definitely something to consider. If it looks like he's falling behind in this game, that's always a trick up the sleeve of Sandalphon.
That was a rough break this turn for Bontu King. He peeled Prison, which, assuming he got to play it next turn, would have been good. But that Geyser was not in Izachiel's hand, and he's going to peel it right off the top. I don't think I like the way that he targeted that Geyser. I think I might have played it differently. But nonetheless, he's going to get to kill the Radiant Glory here for free. He's going to also pick off a Soothsayer, not that that's as big of a deal. He's also going to manage to weaken the Griffin. Like I said, I think I may have played the Geyser differently, but nonetheless, that's going to make this Prison far less effective, and it's actually going to leave Bonta King in a really awkward position where he either needs to realignment and discard his own Prison, or play the Prison into a not that exciting board.
Yeah, it definitely, you're correct there. It's going to be an interesting turn for Bonta King where really nothing good can really happen for him. If he does realignment, that's going to be all he can do. So that's not a good turn. If he plays Prison, obviously that will slow down Izachiel's next turn, but he's losing in the top lane. He can't attack up there without losing both creatures this turn. He could obviously trade both of them for the Wolf Captain, which he may do. But that Wolf Captain has Retribution, so no matter what, it's killing off that DA, and then next turn the Watchman will be killing the Loyal Griffin. So he does move those down. He is going to play the Prison. So that makes the most sense to me because he doesn't want to just waste his whole turn and throw away his Prison.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it, but like you said, I don't really love any of his options. So I think he made the most of the turn for what it was. I see Sandalphon attacking here and probably just playing the Crusader and the Griffin. I don't see any reason to go for homebound wins here. Would you play it differently? Or no, he can't even play, guys. My mistake. Let me see. He could discard and he could play the Griffin this turn using the Sandalphon unique ability. I actually don't think that's awful. I think the homebound wins are kind of clunky. I don't think it's terrible to discard one and play a Griffin, especially in the bottom lane where it can wall them off both.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be a good call.
You gonna crack? Or is he gonna move it? We've seen him throughout the game. He's played pretty defensively, and he's opted to move his guys into a defensive position where he easily could be attacking. This time, yeah, he's gonna move it again. Very, very conservative play overall from the Sandalphon player. Almost a little bit too conservative, which is a lot coming from me. I'm a pretty safe conservative guy, but like right there for sure, I think I would have put the Griffin in the bottom. Like even if he attacks it and picks it off, it's going to kill something with the retaliation, and it forces 2 resources out of him to activate Week of Training. So I really think the Griffin should have been in the bottom lane. But nonetheless, very conservative choices from our Sandalphon pilot. And once again, not an amazing turn. Probably a Wolf Captain and a Cosmic Realignment at best for our Cassandra player.
Yeah, and I don't know if playing conservatively is even really something I would consider looking at a Cassandra, even though it's a Cassandra. Bonta King was starting his turn with only 2 cards in hand. For me, that's a sign that you should be as aggressive as possible. Of course, one of those is Cosmic Realignment, but I don't know if playing conservatively makes the most sense in that situation, to me at least. But putting damage on the board when you know that Prison and Imperial Devotion are in the graveyard is something that I would be looking for. But regardless, playing safe is never a bad thing. But I do agree with you that Loyal Griffin should be in the bottom row. It would stop all that damage unless something came out, like you said. So it's a bit interesting that he made that play. But right now, it's still a fairly even game. Bonta King, I think, is in a slightly worse position, especially with the spell help that could come in from Izachiel later on. But yeah, for now, the Wolf Captain should be a help, and I don't know what else. Looks like Watchman is going to come out too. Okay.
Yeah, I see what Bonta King is doing. I mean, he's trying to maximize that realignment. He's got 1 card, and it is that realignment, and a clunky draw there for Izachiel for sure. He's only, despite 6 resources and 4 cards in hand, no matter what he opts to do here, he's only going to get to play 1 card, and because he upped his mind opposed to his magic, we know that it is in fact going to be a Crusader. It's just a matter of where he puts it. So on paper, it looks like the Sandalphon player could be winning here, but in actuality, I think he's actually behind now. I mean, the realignment is actually going to really benefit Sandalphon because his hand is actually garbage right now, even though his opponent obviously doesn't know that. It's still a race, it looks like. I mean, he's been conservative. It looks, I mean, from the way he's been playing it, I can see him, yeah, picking that off, and I think he's going to move the Wolf Captain as opposed to attack with it, which is probably correct. Probably moves it to the second to bottom lane. He's thinking about it here. I don't know what there is to think about. Are you going to get in for 2 in exchange for losing the Griffin for free and having your bottom lane wrecked? I think you clearly have to move it here. Maybe he's thinking about moving the Griffin as well.
Yeah, I kind of thought he'd move around that Radiant Glory again, just because I think that might be the first time I've seen it attack all game. He's been moving it around so much. I thought it might make some sense to throw the Wolf Captain around in that 3rd row and maybe move the Radiant Glory up 1. Yeah, especially since that would have given it 3 retaliation to kill off that opponent Wolf Captain, but still a decent position for Izachiel. But we'll see what happens after the realignment. That's going to be the key aspect of this game, I think.
I don't love the way the Sandalphon player has played this game. I think he's been overly conservative with his choices, and I think a couple of his placement and combat decisions have been questionable. Right now, though I agree with you that Sandalphon was ahead before, I think I'd rather be in Cassandra's seat, especially given the fact that this realignment's about to happen. I do not like drawing before. I think that is absolutely a mistake. I think he should have just gone for realignment. I don't even think he should have played the Griffin. I think he should immediately realignment, still have 3 resources, and who knows what that would have brought. Drawing first is awkward because he's just going to discard what he drew. I guess he can go for Griffin in realignment, but that seems just worse than the play that I suggested. And when we see the 5 cards that he gets off it, I think we're going to be like, hey, look what he could have done with those 3 resources. But nonetheless, I still like the Cassandra position here. He's going to pick off the Wolf Captain essentially for free. I guess it's not for free because of the retribution, but I think it's fine to trade here. He's going to opt to trade his Griffin for his Crusader. That's totally fine. It's correct to do it that way if he's going to make this attack because he takes 1 less point in retribution. But as we know, it's not going to matter because the Griffin, of course, is going to trade with the Wolf Captain on the turn, on his turn. And yeah, now it's a matter of, does Griffin want to just take 1 for the team and take a hit from Radiant Glory, or does he want to move up and try to block the Crusader? I think he probably should just leave it where it is. I definitely don't like the attack, but I guess he's going to try to gum up that lane. And we'll see what Sandalphon draws. This game is definitely close.
Yeah, I think the only time it would make sense to draw first there is if Bonta King had a special card in mind that he thought would really benefit him in that situation, and he was just hoping to top deck it. Otherwise, I definitely think realignment would be the best choice. Then you have 3 resources to do whatever you wanted to do. Obviously, drawing those 5 new cards, so many more options, but instead, he only played 2 resources that turn, not playing the Treasurer or the realignment. And still, though, Izuchiel does draw finally the first piece of the Wombo combo, but not drawing Geyser, which would really help him right now.
It certainly would. I just want to let you guys know that after this game, we're going to be restarting the stream. We are not going offline. We are just restarting the stream. Apparently, Kinetic having some issues with frames per second. Just want to make this as smooth and lag-free as possible for you guys. So we are, after this game, going to do a quick restart and then resume casting games. In the meantime, back to the action. Like he said, the Song of the Lost was drawn, but there's no Ice Splinters at the moment. Board state definitely starting to favor Bontu King. Sandalphon is still ahead a little bit on life. Looks like 2 guys are going to come down this turn, just a matter of where. He's going to, of course, make this Griffin trade, which I completely agree with, and he's just going to chump block the Dark Assassin.
Yeah, and if you're going to chump block anything, choosing the Dark Assassin is totally fine.
We're finally going to see this realignment come down. I think he probably should have done it a little while ago. I certainly think he should do it now. I mean, I guess he could drop 2 Crusaders, but, I mean, that's just milking the realignment. It's not awful to drop 2 Crusaders here, but I don't know. I guess it depends on how aggressive he wants to be. One of the problems with dropping 2 Crusaders is that it completely gums up the front line, so if he draws things like Dark Assassin, Wolf Captain, other Crusaders, he's not really going to be able to do anything with them. Another issue is that as it stands, he can't really do anything about that one lane up top in which they both have 2 creatures. He's definitely losing that lane right now. He could try to gum it up with one of his own Crusaders, I suppose, but I mean, there's not really a great spot to move the Griffin. I guess it could be behind the Dark Assassin. If he is going to play the Crusaders, I think he moves the Griffin behind the DA. He puts a Treasurer where the Griffin was, and then he puts a Treasurer in the top lane.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, additionally, he could just play 1 Treasurer and then realign. That's also a possibility. Because, like you said, filling up that melee row is not necessarily a good thing right now. Even though it would help him try to block the Ice Splinters combo if it does come out, that's not really something that he should be worrying about. But we'll see which card he likes to play here, if any. He might just say both of them again.
Yeah, if he's going to play one, I think I like playing the Crusader here. I'd play it in the top lane, and that's exactly what he's going to do. I'm not sure if that's how I would have played the turn, but if he is going to play double guy, I agree with his placement. A Geyser is drawn here for Sandalphon. Let's see if he can do anything super devastating with it. Let's see. He could, if he targets the Griffin, the top Griffin that is, he could kill the Griffin, cripple the Crusader, attack and kill the other Crusader, and then attack for 2. I don't think that's awful. I can see, what else could he do? If he targets the Crusader, he could cripple it and kill 2 Griffins, but that would leave him unable to get through the Treasurer despite having 5 power in that particular lane. So it looks to me like no matter what play he makes, no matter what his target is, it's going to have to be something that affects that second Treasurer so we can actually kill it this turn. I think it's pretty important to not let it stay alive. Unfortunately, there is no way in which he can, or I guess, you know what, he could activate the event. He could kill both Treasurers if he really wanted to. That might not be awful. He could target the bottom Treasurer and then activate the event. And even though it would do some damage to his own guy, he would clear out all 3 of the top creatures for his opponent, which I don't think is bad.
And Windgust actually makes that even more interesting because he can Windgust that the DA right next to that Treasurer and now kill that off too.
Yeah, I like that play quite a bit. And then Windgust, does it do 1 damage to each adjacent creature? Is that right?
I believe so. It's not a card that I think I've ever used before. But yeah.
Yeah, 1 to each adjacent creature. So that would also, yeah, that's a great play. If you move the DA and then that way it would do 1 damage to the Vanguard as well, which is really good because it cripples it. And now if you just, I don't like the attack. I think you guys are first, and then you attack. You guys are that frontline treasure. This is a blowout, actually. And yet he comes up with the same play that we did, and it is quite a blowout. Whoa. Did he... No, he did make that. Did he fail to make the top attack? Did he click through it? Yeah, the treasure took 3 from the geyser, but then he didn't take 3 from the watchman. Is that correct? Did he click through the attack?
And not only that, but he didn't deal damage to Cassandra, did he? Because he should have dealt 2 damage with the treasurer, then 3 damage with the Radiant Glory. But I'm pretty sure that he just only attacked with the Radiant Glory, and both the treasurer and the watchman just skipped their turns.
Yeah, no, he skipped 2 attacks. That was huge. Kinetic is saying that he suspects that you guys can't see it in the replay, but there is actually a turn timer, kind of like a Swiss, and that is probably what the issue was here. He was limited on time, and I think he was panicking at the clock and didn't make those 2 attacks, which is too bad because I feel that that would have been a blowout turn for Sandalphon had he been able to make those attacks. But as it stands, that was a massive mistake, and all of a sudden Cassandra has second life that I would strongly argue she shouldn't have right now. All of a sudden, I'm not convinced Sandalphon's winning this game anymore. He certainly could. He still has access to Wombo combo, but we're playing a game right now instead of watching Sandalphon win 2 turns later, which I think we very well might have been had he made those attacks.
Yeah, I mean, Cassandra should be at 6 health right now. There should not be a treasurer. There should be that 2 damage presence in the top lane, and yeah, it would certainly be a completely different game.
Interestingly enough, now he's got Ice Splinters, but he doesn't have Song of the Lost. Funny how that works, right? Realignment made him discard it for people wondering where it went. So it's going to leave him in a position where he's got a probably useless Ice Splinters unless he finds a Cosmic Singularity to reshuffle. He's got a bunch of guys, and he's got a Geyser. Not that the Geyser is particularly helpful right now. And yeah, that Pillage is doing some work too, so I'm really not digging the position that this leaves him in. He's going to discard a card and get 2 resources. He opts to get rid of the Ice Splinters. Surprise, surprise. That card is pretty awful when you have to use it the fair way. And with 6 resources, he's probably going to drop the Sun Crusader on the bottom, and then the Radiant Glory somewhere, probably blocking the Treasurer. And... is that what he's going to opt for? I might move the Vanguard as well to block the opposing Vanguard just in case. Yep, he's going to do all 3 of those things. So I think he played that turn correctly, but still, I mean, imagine no Treasurer and his opponent at 3 right now. He'd be looking at a completely different game. I don't know that he's going to be able to dig himself out from under that big misplay.
Yeah, that's definitely an unfortunate thing because, and I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. I don't know if you guys hear it, but yeah, so if he had dealt that damage, like, there's no telling exactly what the board would look like. So I'm sure Bonta King would have played his turn differently instead of playing the POW. But yeah, 3 less damage for sure would have been on Cassandra, and no Crusader top lane, 2 damage on his own Watchman.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely a deep hole.
6 and 3 is a big. I mean, that gives Sandalphon the out of just killing his opponent with a POW that he doesn't have anymore. And right now, we're seeing a perfect demonstration of the snowball effect of mistakes. This whole sequence would not have happened under different circumstances. This altar play wouldn't have been there. The DA attack wouldn't be nearly as good. We'd be looking at a completely different game right now. If just 2 turns ago it played differently, that really, really should speak to some of you guys who don't get the concept as to how important every single turn is and how every single mistake, if you make a mistake on turn 2, it matters still on turn 10. It doesn't seem like it does, but this game should really, really demonstrate that. That 1 turn, I think, is going to make all the difference in the world for this game. The Cassandra player here with his new life is going to be able to do pretty damn good things on the board. At least 1 Wolf Captain, maybe even 2 coming down. And I very much like Cassandra's position now. Now I had on board and on life, and they have the same number of cards in hand. How does Sandalphon get out of this game?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a good answer now with Wombo combo potential in the graveyard.
Needs
I
another
think that was
geyser.
his one saving grace. A second geyser, yeah,
Yeah,
that's another thing to think about. He only needs to deal 5 damage.
Yeah, double geyser attack for 6. That's the only way I see out. I think he has to draw a card here. And that is not a geyser. Maybe he should have played. Maybe he should have played Magic Peddler first, just to filter one card that isn't geyser out of his deck. Dig for Strength of the Sea, then draw, and pray it's another geyser, and then just double geyser and attack. I mean, I don't see another way out, and I think he's in some trouble now. I don't think he's dead, but I think he is in a pretty bad spot. You have to geyser this turn, right? Where do you target? I think you hit the Vanguard or the Wolf. He's gonna hit the Crusader. That is interesting. I get why he's doing it. I don't know that I necessarily agree with it. I mean, it does pump the board up. It makes it so, assuming Cassandra has nothing, there's no amazing counterattack, so I guess that's fine, but I don't really see any way without a top deck for Sandalphon to get through next turn. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe he realized that he's going to need a top deck.
So,
What this does do is it lets him develop the board.
I'm going to be awake all day, man.
Well, Peddler for Strength of
Sorry.
the Sea, right? So we can just crack for 1,000,000.
I have people over here at the LAN asking me how I'm still awake. I've been awake for 29 hours or so now, so I apologize for any background noise again. But yeah, with this game, it looks like Isachiel played that as best he could, but so many tools still lie in the deck of Cassandra. Sandy is down to 2 cards in hand, and it looks very bleak. But then again, 3 health left on Sandy, 5 health left on Cass. It can always go either way if they just top deck the right cards.
Speaking of top deck the right cards, the Angel there was one hell of a draw. Not only is that a super relevant threat on the board, but it's going to heal the damage when it comes into play off the Crusader, which is going to allow it to pick off the Glory, which is pretty backbreaking for the Sandalphon player. He was really counting on that Glory sticking around. I would be shocked if anything other than Angel, Guy, and Guy came down. I mean, I guess you can go Angel, Guy, Pillage, but he did opt to draw a card for his very first action of the turn, which in this case is probably correct. And that very well might have been the best card he could have drawn, to be honest with you. And that's going to leave Sandalphon in a pretty awful position. I don't know what he could draw at this point. He used the Geyser last turn. Drawing a Geyser now would not be great. Pow is not an out because his opponent's at 5 as opposed to 2. We know he's got Magic Power for Strength of the Sea, and that's all good, but Strength of the Sea is not going to push through enough damage here, and it's not devastating enough to wipe the board. So, I mean, he's going to have to draw something else in addition to that. Here is the free kill on the Glory like we talked about. Here is a Guy. It's just a matter of does he follow it up with Pillage or with another guy. He's going to move, and yeah, he's going to play a creature. So now it's on Sandalphon. Windgust is an interesting draw there. Does that do it? Does that
It's the game-winning draw.
Yeah, it's the game-winning draw. Wow, he's got multiple Windgust in his deck. Multiple homebound wins, too. What a weird build, but like Tyrion said, that was quite the peel. He's going to be able to move the Angel, and despite his pretty massive misplay, he's going to do the trick. Why are you searching for Strength of the Sea? Tell me that he's just messing with his opponent. Tell me that he does not fail to see the win here. I'll kill a baby. If he doesn't kill him this turn, I'm going to be very upset. There's Strength of the Sea. Tell me you
There it
see
is.
this.
Okay.
There we go.
He saw it. There we go.
He's
Right.
just teasing the crowd. He does go for the Windgust. Thinking, don't know what to do. There we go. Makes the attack.
Yeah, I was going to mention that that top lane should have been double blocked by Cassandra. Not because I wasn't even thinking about Windgust. I was
No,
just thinking that it was mandatory to
Geyser.
block the killing lane.
Yeah, anything. Geyser, Lightning Strike. Yeah, no, absolutely. You play something else there for sure. Alright, so let's see. I believe we are going to be restarting the stream. Kinetic, give me some confirmation on that, please.
Yeah, we're going to be restarting the stream in just a few seconds. We'll be back. Please don't leave us. So hold on, and we're stopping now.